opportunity. And California must be a place where it's safe and healthy and affordable to live, work, and raise our families. In 2010, when I was first sworn in, California faced a $25 billion deficit on the heels of just having closed a $60 billion one. Last month, the Nonpartisan Legislative Analyst's Office released economic projections for the state that show increased revenues, more money for schools, Tom, and community colleges, and a stronger rainy day fund, more debt repayment, a general fund projected to be in the black for years to come. And that was made possible. I really want people to feel this. That was made possible by hard choices, difficult votes, and a forward thinking that took place in this very chamber. Those were not easy moments. Actions that set the stage for the California comeback. California is a $2 trillion economy. The California Department of Finance and the World Bank both say that we're the 8th largest economy in the world. And we are the #1 destination for venture capital. In 2010, the state's unemployment rate was 12.4%. Today, it's 7.3%. Still too high, but a world better. The state recovered all of the jobs lost during the recession faster than all but 5 states. In October, California created 41,500 jobs, more than any other state. With 11.4% of the nation's manufacturing, we still contribute more than any other state. Exports are up over 2013, and 2013 was a record year for California. A new survey shows that Southern California small businesses are increasingly optimistic, expecting better revenue and higher sales and looking to boost hiring. That is good. In the past year, companies like Amway, Mercedes, Raytheon, DC Comics have been among those moving to or expanding in California. Companies are coming from such countries as Japan, Sweden, Australia, Germany, and England, and from other states like Virginia, Massachusetts, Georgia, New Jersey, and yes, even Texas. But when you look at California's business climate, there is truth to both sides of that argument. Our fastest job creation has come in low-wage sectors, where pay has declined and middle-wage workers are losing out. We have lost some high-profile businesses and jobs, including Toyota, Occidental, and Allergan. And while these losses are mostly related to companies retooling their business models, as they tell us, they give us an opportunity to think about what we can and what we must do better. And that's absolutely something that I want all of us to work on together. The Assembly has been committed to ensuring stability and expanding opportunity. And that includes giving businesses more predictability so they can make bigger and stronger investments in California and create more good-paying jobs for Californians. And it includes ensuring Californians have education, transportation, and affordable housing they need to work in our state. The fact is, California has come back, but not all Californians have. And the oath that we took today is also a promise to help fix that. No Californian who works a full-time job should be living in poverty. No Californian who wore the uniform of our nation's armed forces should be homeless. And no Californian should be priced out of a UC education because they come from a middle-class family. Colleagues, again from Tom. Colleagues, what an honor it is to be named a regent and a trustee in our prestigious higher education system in California. But I must tell you how disappointing it was to be at the recent UC Regents meeting a couple of weeks ago and to see the university administration and a majority of the regents approve an almost 28% tuition increase. As student regent Sadia Setfuddin said, she was one of the no votes, she described it. The tuition increase means a student basically has to find another month's worth of rent when they already aren't able to make ends meet. I think California students deserve better. And that's why I put forward an alternative proposal. We reject the fee increases for in-state students. We provide $50 million in additional state funding. We tie that funding to greater efficiencies from UC, and we tie it to increased enrollment of California students, a cap on out-of-state students, which, by the way, last year was the highest year and the highest number of out-of-state students. And we do an accelerated, reasonable fee increase for out-of-state students that are in line with what other universities in other states charge. Assemblymember Mark Steinnorth and Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia both went to UC Riverside. Assemblymember Miguel Santiago went to UCLA. In all, 10 new Assembly members attended a UC school. We need you to help us keep UC affordable and attainable for every California student. You know, it is clear to me that UC needs more money, but fee increases aren't the way to do it. You know, we also have 5 new members who graduated from California State University's system, which has not proposed a fee increase. And CSU also needs more state funding as well to increase student services, reduce the time needed to graduate, and to increase enrollment. Members, I am looking forward to working with you. And as I look around this chamber, I see an assembly that has one very big difference from the one that I joined 4 years ago. Most of you have an opportunity to be here for 10 or 12 years. And that means there's a greater opportunity to develop expertise, to take a more in-depth approach. One of the things I think the Assembly has done extremely well is our Budget Committee and our subcommittee process. As part of a more in-depth approach, I think we can make that process even better by adding a measure of zero-based budgeting. Through the zero-based budgeting approach, every line item of an organization's budget must be approved rather than only the changes from the previous year. That allows for more thorough public discussion of items contained in an organization's budget, and it gives them the opportunity to show that each dollar is being spent for the intended purpose and in the right way. Of course, it's not practical to do zero-based budgeting for an entire $100 million plus state budget in 1 year. But if we do a small portion every year, I think we can rebuild the entire budget over time, and that will be up to you, knowing that every dollar appropriated is indeed being spent for the intended purpose and, of course, in the right way. I will work with Governor Brown and the Senate President Pro Tem Kevin De Leon, the Department of Finance, to see if we can develop an ongoing approach that works. This year, though, in keeping with the Assembly's commitment to keeping college affordable and maintaining a world-class system of higher education, the Assembly will begin a zero-based budgeting process with a thorough public discussion of the items contained in the UC budget. Under the leadership of the Budget Committee Chair and the Education Finance Subcommittee Chair, these hearings will give UC an opportunity to show efficiencies they have made and can make, and also show each dollar that could be spent holding tuition at its current level would be better spent on a different UC priority. Let's let them make the case. Members, on higher education and other challenges and opportunities before us, it will take all of us working together, talking to each other, and learning from each other. But we can do it. Democrat or Republican, Northern Californian, Central or Southern Californian, coastal or inland, rural or urban. By serving in the Assembly, we all have an amazing opportunity to help shape a stronger, brighter future for California. So to the members of the Assembly classes of 2010 and 2012, we have a chance to build on what we achieved last session. To the class of 2014, you now have the chance to help take California to even greater heights. Again, congratulations to the members of the California State Assembly. So now we get to work. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so now we get to work. Members and guests, now to acknowledge some incredible people who've joined us today, esteemed individuals for this session. We had the honor, of course, of receiving the oath of office from the Honorable Goodwin Liu, Associate Justice on our Supreme Court, and I want to say thank you so much for being with us to help us do the business of the people. And his job is not yet done, so we will again see him perform and help us conduct the business of the House. From our U.S. House of Representatives, we have the Honorable Doug LaMaffa from the 1st Congressional District here. Okay. We have the Honorable Attorney General Kamala Harris is with us today. Our State Treasurer and the person who's done so much work for us, the Honorable Bill Lockyer, former member of this House. Also another former member of this House, our Insurance Commissioner, Honorable Dave Jones. And yet another wonderful former member of this House, the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the Honorable Tom Torlakson. From the Board of Equalization, we have representing District 4, the Honorable Jerome. Nope, Jerome wasn't able to make it. Okay. We have representing District 2, the Honorable George Runner is with us today. And Board of Equalization member-elect, a former member of this House, the Honorable Fiona Ma is with us. The Secretary of State-elect, the Honorable Alex Padilla, was with us. And I understand we have some predecessors for the office of Assembly Speaker. The Honorable Willie L. Brown, Jr. is here. As well as the Honorable Cruz Bustamante is with us today. And I absolutely want to thank my special guest, my spouse, Jennifer Lassar, for joining me today. We also are privileged to welcome several representatives of other countries and governments, our armed forces, former members of the legislature, other ones are here as well, other distinguished public officials, and special guests who have joined us today. We want to thank you all for being here and being part of this special day for the Assembly. Thank you. Give them a round. Our next order of business is the appointment of the Speaker pro tempore. I'm appointing Kevin Mullen of the 22nd Assembly District to this office and a select committee to escort him to the rostrum. Assembly Speaker pro tempore designee Mullen and the following members should retire to the rear of chambers. Assembly members Gordon, Ting, Eggman, Holden, Rendon, and Wilk. Members, please escort Speaker pro tempore designate to the rostrum. Justice Liu will administer the oath of office.
It's my pleasure to administer the oath of office to your designate for Speaker pro tempore. Repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Kevin Mullen,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so here's the real test. Members, if you haven't yet activated the voting mechanism at your desk, please insert and turn the key now. I'll give you a few minutes there. If you lift up the desk and look back there, you'll find a key. We have several resolutions at the desk and copies on your laptop or on your desk. And so our next order of business will be the adoption of our House rules. Let me ask our Rules Chair, Rich Gordon, to present the House Resolution number 1 for purpose of third reading. Are you ready to proceed, Mr. Gordon?
I am, Madam Speaker.
Clerk will read.
House Resolution 1 by Assemblymember Gordon relative to the standing rules of the Assembly for the 2015-16 regular session.
Mr. Gordon, you may open.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to present House Resolution 1, a measure that would establish the standing rules of our Assembly for the 2015-16 legislative session. These rules are largely the same as previous years. There are 4 substantive changes, however. The first would amend Assembly Rule 11 to change and restore the prior name of the Business and Professions Committee and to add the newly established Privacy and Consumer Protection Committee to the list of standing committees. The second major change would add Assembly Rule 29.5 to describe the duties of the Assistant Speaker Pro Tem. Third, we would amend Subdivision F of Assembly Rule 32 to clarify the process of the Chief Clerk's Office distributing the committee preference form to members. And finally, we would amend Assembly Rule 58.5 to clarify that a particular committee process relating to holding open the roll applies to both Assembly and Senate bills. All other changes are non-substantive wording suggested by the Chief Clerk's Office, including proper capitalization of words and making all references to roll call one word instead of 2 words. I would respectfully request an aye vote to adopt our standing rules for this legislative session.
Okay, are there comments or questions from the members? Mr. Wilk, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to oppose these rules. I stand here before you completely in awe like I did 2 years ago. I'm just shocked by that. But that's because of the love that I have for this institution and the people of California. My class, the class of 2012, was a historic class for 2 reasons. 1, 42 of us out of a body of 80. And 2, we've had a paradigm shift on how we govern this state by the ability to serve in this body for 12 years. During the last 2 years, we had many discussions across the aisle about strengthening this institution so we can better serve the people of California. And this body, the last session, rejected the dysfunction in Washington, D.C. We accomplished great things together that was outlined in the way that we worked in a bipartisan manner, whether it was film and tax credit, aerospace tax credit, rainy day fund, and, of course, the water bond. There's many things wrong with these rules, but I just want to cite a few of them. First one is a lack of proportional representation on committees. Every one of us comes from a district. We all should have the same right to vote and be appropriated appropriately on committees. Number 2, every bill should have a hearing. The California Air Resources Board has new regulations coming online in January 1. I was co-author of a bill to delay that, and we could not even get a hearing last session. That's just not right. And finally, we would like to have a 3-day prior rule for every bill before it's heard in committee or on the floor. I remember our first year here in 2012, we were debating the budget bill. On my computer, I went to pull up the budget bill. It said document not available. So if I couldn't read it, the people of California couldn't read it, and that's not how we want to operate this House. We want to operate this House with transparency, and we are better than these rules that are being presented to you today. I urge you to vote no on these rules, and then we can go and we can rewrite some of them to strengthen them so there's greater accountability and transparency, and we can set ourselves apart from Washington, D.C. and the dysfunction there. I urge a no vote.
Thank you, Mr. Wilk. Other comments or questions? Other comments from members? Seeing none, Mr. Gordon, you may close.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I would point out that these rules are no different than the way we functioned in the past. and we have achieved the kind of bipartisan work referenced by my colleague under these rules, and I would again urge adoption of the standing rules for the 2015-2016 session by the adoption of H.R. 1. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Let me just remind members to make sure your keys are in. Returning members can look at the seatmate's key to make sure that it's in, and this is your first act of assisting each other. Okay. You have to, and our longtime clerk says you have to put the key in and turn it. So we will take a roll call vote on H.R. 1. Mr. Gordon is asking for an aye vote. Mr. Wilk is asking for a no vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. All those vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. 52 ayes, 28 noes. Resolution passes. Okay, to the next order of business. Majority Leader Holden will present House Resolution Number 2 for the purpose of third reading. Are you prepared to proceed, Mr. Holden?
I am, Madam Speaker.
House Clerk will read.
House Resolution 2 by Assemblymember Atkins relative to the election of officers of the Assembly for the 2015-16 regular session.
Mr. Holden, you may open.
Madam Speaker and members, I'm presenting House Resolution 2 on behalf of Speaker Tony G. Atkins to designate the non-member officers of the Assembly for 2015-2016 regular session. They are Mr. E. Dotson Wilson as Chief Clerk, Mr. Ronald E. Payne as Chief Sergeant at Arms, and Father Constantine Papadimos of St. Catherine Greek Orthodox Church as chaplain. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Other members' comments or questions? If there is no further discussion or debate, seeing and hearing none, you've asked for an aye vote, Mr. Holden. We will take a roll call vote on H.R. 2. This resolution also requires 41 votes. The clerk will open the roll on H.R. 2. All those vote who desire to vote. All vote who desire to vote. All vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. 80 ayes, 0 nays. The motion is adopted. Mr. Wilson, Mr. Payne, Father Papadimos, if you would join Justice Goodwin Liu here at the rostrum, he will administer the oath of office to the non-member officers.
See you all there? Okay, all right. It's my pleasure to administer the oath of office to the non-member officers of the California State Assembly. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Dotson Wilson,
do solemnly swear
that
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Majority Leader Holden will present House Resolution Number 3 for the purpose of third reading. Are you ready to proceed, Mr. Holden?
I am, Madam Speaker.
Clerk will read.
House Resolution 3 by Assemblymember Atkins relative to the organization of the Assembly for the 2015-16 regular session.
Mr. Holden, you may open.
Madam Speaker and members, House Resolution 3 is a routine housekeeping resolution which does the following. Authorizes the Chief Clerk and the Sergeant at Arms to receive warrants from the Controller to pay members, this is very important, officers and staff of the Assembly, It requires the Chief Clerk to provide copies of the Assembly weekly histories to specified government offices and accredited newspapers representatives, and specifies that during the organizational recess, no bill can be introduced at the desk except by a person designated in writing by the member, and the designation be filed with the Chief Clerk. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Members, questions, comments? Seeing no comments or questions, we will move to a vote for H.R. 3. This resolution requires 41 votes. Let me ask if there's any objection to substituting the vote for H.R. 2 for H.R. 3. No objection. Seeing that, 80 ayes, 0 noes. The resolution is adopted. There are letters at the desk relative to the leadership of Democratic and Republican caucus, and the named members will serve in the capacities to which they were appointed or elected in the 2015-16 regular session. At the end of session today, members will have the opportunity to introduce their first legislative measure. I am ordering that the desk remain open today for bill introductions until 4 p.m. During the organizational recess, the desk will be open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily until Thursday, December 18th, for purpose of bill introductions. Sue? Do we have a Senate resolution? There is a resolution at the desk relative to the appointment of legislative counsel. Without objection, we will move to that item now. Mr. Holden, are you ready to proceed on SCR 1?
I am, Madam Speaker.
The clerk will read.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 by Senator Huff relative to the selection of the Legislative Council of California.
Mr. Holden, you may open on Senate Concurrent Resolution number 1.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Senate Concurrent Resolution 1 is relative to the selection of Diane Boyer Vine as the Legislative Council of California. Diane Boyer Vine has served as the Legislative Council since June 2002. The Legislative Council oversees a staff of 560 employees who provide expert, nonpartisan legal and technical service to the members of the legislature. I ask for your aye vote.
Any questions or debate on SCR 1? Seeing none, Mr. Holden, you've asked for an aye vote. We will take a roll call vote on SCR 1. This resolution requires 41 votes. The clerk will open the roll on SCR 1. Everyone vote who desires to vote. All vote who desire to vote. Everyone vote who desires to vote. Clerk will close the roll and tally the votes. The ayes 80, noes 0. That resolution is adopted. We don't have anyone from the Senate here yet, right? Okay. Members, I am now appointing a special committee to proceed to the chamber of the Senate and to the office of the governor to inform them that the Assembly has organized for the 2015-16 regular session. I would ask Assembly members Garcia, Santiago, and Cooper to do that and to take our message to the Senate and to the governor, if they can meet in the back. Thank you, members. We have now completed the organizational task for the 2015-16 regular session. We will now move to announcements and adjourn in memories. Under announcements, upon adjournment of session today, we will begin our organizational recess. The session schedule is as follows. Monday, January 5th, 2015, floor session at 12 noon sharp. Under adjourn in memories, Mr. Holden, you are recognized for the purpose of adjourn in memories.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I wish to acknowledge the passing of two former legislators this fall. The Honorable John Foran, a Democrat who represented San Francisco from 1962 to 1976. He died on September 11th, 2014. During his political career, Mr. Foran was the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, and he also served in the California State Senate. And the Honorable Richard Dick Dickerson, a Republican who represented Reading from 1998 to 2002. He died on September 29, 2014. During his political career, Mr. Dickerson served on the Reading City Council as a Shasta County Supervisor, and he also sought election to the California State Senate. When we reconvene in January, we will allow time for members to speak on these and other adjourned in memories.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. The remaining requests to adjourn in memory will be deemed read and printed in the Journal. And back under announcements and acknowledgments, I want to thank our Chief Justice of the California State Supreme Court, Tani Kantil Sakauwe, who has joined us here today. If we could say thank you for joining us. Everyone knew that people were doing double duty today, Chief Justice. Thank you for being here. If there's no further business to come before this House, I am ready to entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Holden moves, Ms. Olson seconds, that this House stands adjourned until Monday, January 5th, 2015 at 12 noon. Quorum call is lifted.